Because it says start the preview player, and when you press that, it says there's no video. Oh, and now it's alive. Hello, good evening, and welcome. YouTube will be the death of me. Just had a very hairy, scary moment trying to get in, but it's telling me now I'm in. So hopefully I'm in. If you're there and you can hear me, say hello.
Hello.
Well, I know you can hear me. You're sat behind me.
Oh, you're lying.
Oi! Wonders we'll never cease. Hello, sweetie. Good to have you with us. And the backup's working. And do you want to say hello, Mike?
Hello.
Oh, I think we heard you.
I've got my very own microphone. Is it working?
I think you are.
Well, I'll tell you. I'm monitoring.
You should be.
Yes, I am working.
Oh, Mike's working. Wonders will
I've got
never
my
cease.
very own microphone. I've been promoted.
You have.
Yes.
Don't misuse your power.
My own microphone and my own yellow cable.
Yes, which is good that it's long because we've now got it draped all over.
It's good that it's
Jonathan.
yellow.
It's good that it's yellow. I nearly went for black. I always go for black, but I decided no, luminous yellow. That way we'll see it. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening, Carl.
Right. Whatever. I've got all sorts talking to me now.
Commiserations, Carl.
Oh, yes, Carl. Very sad.
And good luck to Tottenham next week.
Oh, you don't mean that. I want Liverpool to win. I want Liverpool to win
so
for
you
Carl.
told the cabbie.
Well, it wasn't my fault it was Nevertonian.
No, he wasn't.
The first one was.
Oh, I hope you win, she says.
I do. They deserve something. They've had a good season. They played well. Right. So am I? Is everything all right here? It's amazing. Oh, I'm doing all sorts of things.
I'm going to break the habit of a lifetime. I'm going to mark that mail as sent.
Wow. Mike's using the system. It's amazing. Right, well, we've got a bit of a trickier setup and we've got a full agenda. Can't say fairer than that, can you? Yes, I do want to save the document. Just save the document. What's going on now?
Me and Carl, we're having some football banter.
It's footy banter. Footy banter's okay.
It's coming home, it's coming home.
He's only jealous because United couldn't win a raffle.
Yeah, a fixed one.
Yes, they couldn't. So what have we got tonight? Well, before I can tell you that, you need to see my screen, don't you? So let's see if you can see my screen. Let's try that. Woo! Desktop should be blue. Right, let's try for Keynote.
That sounds like work.
Next.
Can you see me screen?
And where's Keynote gone? That was nearly a panic. Opened up on the third screen.
Have you pressed record?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I'm so organised. It's terrifying. That's usually a very, very, very bad sign. Something will go wrong when I'm organised. But never mind. It's going to be fine. So what I will do is share with you tonight's agenda. It's quite full. And because we weren't here last night...
That's why we call it Mac Bites After Midnight.
No, we don't. It's after hours. But yes, it could
hours.
reach after midnight. No, it won't. It won't. Mike's doing a demo as well. But let's try this. Let's make sure...
Yes, I've been let out for the night to do a demo.
Yes, he's been let loose to do a demo. Right. Some of them are tiny, but we've been away for a weekend. So you get to see the pickies. You will sit and watch our slides. But they're very much fun. Then there's an update to DevThink, which we've talked about. There's been a debacle with Adobe CC. If you've been affected by said debacle, let me know. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if not, you will be apprised shortly. Then we've got Foxing Facebook. Oh, that was scary beans. You're going to like that one. Doesn't Mike put fantastic lines in here, you know, to really entice you? Sennheiser SP20ml.
You put that.
Only because that's what you called it. It matched the slide that you made for me. Now, you see, my title's far more intriguing. 13-year-old tech saves the day. What could that be? Then we've got creating artwork and using patterns. And a sort of unboxing. Now, folks, does it count as an unboxing if it's already unboxed? There's a good reason reason why it's unboxed, but I have got the box and I can show you everything that came with it. Thank you very much, sweetie, for my birthday. Congratulations. It was a good weekend. That is all I will say. It was a good weekend. And now it's 9 o'clock. We can get going and you can see my weekend. Yes, it's not so much the week at Matt Bites headquarters. It was the 2 weeks. But we're starting it a week ago tonight. We're starting it on the Friday. On the Friday, given that we were going away for the weekend, we went over to Liverpool. We needed to start with a hearty breakfast. If you are of a nervous disposition, you may want to look away now. That's what's called a Big Cat breakfast in Bury. Who knows where Bury is? Oh, look at that
Carl
mayonnaise
will
on
know
the
where
left.
Bury is.
Carl will know.
Jonathan should know where Bury is.
I did enjoy my birthday. And you want the courgette story? Okay. While we're looking at the breakfast, to give you the courgette story. You know how Facebook reminds you? You really need the image, don't you? I should go get that. Tell you what, I'll go get that post from Facebook. And then you can all hear the courgette story. Right, what happened was, it was my birthday. Not this birthday. This was two years ago. My birthday 2 years ago. And I took some photos and I put them on Facebook. Here it is. Here's my Facebook. Let's get that up there. Here's my Facebook. Right, so I put another 2 years older. And these were the photos. So you know it comes up and it says memories. I saw it and I thought I'll post that. So as you can see, it was the 19th of May 2017 and it says feeling blessed. And my photos were all my gifts and cards and all kinds of stuff. And obviously you can see, ooh, a 1 terabyte crucial hard drive. You couldn't say fairer than that, could you? So in these pictures, as well as the flowers and stuff, let's have a look at the plus 11. What was in these things? Yes, you see the Ann Summers bag. Did you not put the two together, Carl? Oh, hello, John. Good to have you with us. Right. So, yes, the Ann Summers bag. You'll see as I move through these what was actually in the Ann Summers bag. Oh, there's me. There's me. You don't often see me, do you? There's me. That was a gift for my birthday. And you can see courgettes. Right, where's the rest of them? Because there's some great things here. That was from our daughter. This is a long story. She's adopted us. I know it usually works the other way around, but never mind. Where's the stress-tickle? There we go. The stress-tickle. So I've got everything in these photos. Isn't it fabulous at Matt Bites headquarters for your birthday? Right, so courgettes. Now, as I move on, let's go back to that photo. That's Rachel, who's adopted us. So that's our daughter Rachel, who has adopted us. Right, so courgettes. What happened was, I was on, if you remember, my mad kick biking for the church roof. And I was being uber healthy and eating incredibly healthily, which meant a lot of courgettes and not much else, to be honest. And then all of a sudden, Graham will remember this, there was a worldwide shortage of courgettes. So, Rachel's other mother, who's a demon shopper, Nina the demon shopper. As you see, Nina liked that post. Nina goes off to Tesco's and they literally just had a delivery of courgettes. So she buys 3 courgettes, comes round, but I'm busy working. And the door was locked. So she leaves 3 courgettes sticking out the letterbox. And they were part of my birthday present. So it wasn't anything lewd, it was just I needed courgettes for what I was eating and I couldn't buy a courgette for love nor money. There you go, you see.
It could have turned into something lewd.
It could have turned into something lewd.
Particularly
And it's very
Summers
infrequently you see a photo of me, but you have seen a photo. That's probably the only photo of me online. I'm so much of an enigma, even Facebook can't recognise me, which I like to keep it that way. So there you go. That's the story of it. You get to see me. You get to see my courgettes. You get to see my stress-ticles, which get a lot of use, especially around Apple events. So that was the story of the courgettes. Are you happy with that now, Carl? We'll be back to Facebook later, sadly. Right, let's get back into where we were, which was we were lusting after my breakfast, weren't we? But that was only the start of the day. Mike was really enjoying himself. With that ice cream, a little bit too much, I thought. Yeah, so we'll say no more about that. Anyway, we left Bury. That's Bury Market. We left Bury and we got to Liverpool. What was the first thing I did? Come on. Got to be something. What was the first thing I did? Easy. You know the answer to this one. What was the internet speed on my mobile? And it was pretty good. You can see my ISP, there's O2, who I'm with. That was actually taken Saturday, but I did do it on Friday as well. But I thought I should take a screenshot of this. Pretty much because, although it's nowhere near as fast as it is in Matt Bytes headquarters, I didn't think for a mobile that was bad at all. I was tethering. My iPhone battery's well past its best. But I was quite happy with that. And the only reason that I tested it was I started installing some software and I was thinking, this is going pretty quickly. Much faster than I expected. I was downloading about 800 meg and it whizzed through. So I did a quick test and I was rather happy with that. Anyway, it got to Friday night and we were going to a banquet. That's the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool. Very old style, but beautiful. Look at it. It's beautiful. Banquet itself, absolutely fabulous. Must admit, love those black chairs, Mike. Could do with some of those. It was absolutely fantastic. So that was pretty much Friday taken care of. Graham, in answer to that question, no, it could not possibly be worse than the last, but don't challenge them because you know what Apple are like. Anyway, on to the Saturday. And we were in the centre of Liverpool. Was that the museum, Mike? Or was the museum the other way?
Museum is the other way. I know, because I went there.
I know. Well, what's that then? Find out what that building is. It was the other side, not the museum, the other one. But it said Liverpool, so I took a photo anyway. So we were going down for a conference. That was the official line. We were going for a conference, and that's outside the conference, which was at St George's Hall, which was the point we spotted this. This is amazing. This is such an amazing use of tech.
Is it a town hall?
I've no idea. I would have thought that was further into the centre, but never mind. Anyway, let me tell them about this, because this is amazing. This is a charity called Across, and they fundraise to take people on pilgrimages, pretty much to Lourdes. But they go from Glasgow, they go from Manchester, and they don't get any funding at all. They raise all the money for this. And that, well, it said ambulance on the front, as you can see from the next one. But you get the full length of it on that one. It's a little bit longer than a coach. It's a jumbulance. And they have to buy the thing and then fund all these trips. So we got to go on it and have a look round. It was absolutely amazing. Doesn't Mike scrub up well in his suit? On one side, you've got all the seats, and on the other, you've got, as you can see, full dependency beds. They were stunning. The whole thing was stunning. Now, obviously, if you looked back, let's go back. How on earth, through that door, do you get those beds on? Well, you don't. Over on the, let's have a look at the next one, just on the right there, where you can just see some light, they have a hoist and a crane, and they carry them on like that. And as you can see, the bunks at the back, just at the foreground of the photo, are where the helpers who go with them sleep on this journey. They stay on that all the way through to Lourdes. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I thought the most interesting thing, and I was only sorry I couldn't actually see inside it, was this photo.
Wasn't that St George's Hall?
No. Oh, actually, it could be, couldn't it? And we went in the side. Yeah. Maybe it is. What you see there underneath the fire thing, there's a handle. Not the yellow one that you're looking at, the one that's down the middle, so just above the step. That was all of about 18 inches of a gap. That's where the coach driver sleeps. It's a bunk. I have no idea how he gets in and out. Literally, I have no idea. But that's where the coach driver slept. And those coaches, I think you can appreciate when you see all of the stuff that's in it. These cost £755,000 each. Oh, ouch. So we did a bit of fundraising on the day and raised £1,000 for them. So it was fascinating to see. We absolutely adored that. I mean, I've seen them from the outside before, but I've never seen them on the inside. And it was absolutely stunning. Then we got inside. How intricate is that? And guess who got on his hind legs and did a presentation? Well, a bit of a talk, didn't you?
Yeah.
A talk, a reply to a motion, as it were. I'm not being drawn on that. And then, not satisfied with that, went outside and did a Facebook Live in front of said Jumbulance. Not without being heckled. No, actually, the guy wasn't heckling. He was amazed at what had gone on and wanted to talk to him. So then Mike got back to doing his Facebook Live. Let's have a look at this. I'm following along with the chat. So we went back to the room. We did some tech in our hotel. And then in the evening, we were going over to Aintree. And it was the most beautiful night. We were actually in the Earl of Derby stand. What suite were we in, Mike?
Earl of Derby suite.
No, it's not. It's the Earl of Derby stand.
No, I don't
Wasn't it the... what level were we on? Was it the Golden Miller suite?
Golden Miller suite.
The Golden Miller suite we were in. The view was stunning. That was about 6:30ish. There's a story there, but that's for another day. I'll tell you now. We decided to stay in a hotel out of town, which at the time seemed like a good idea, and in hindsight was an even better idea. Everybody else was getting a coach from the centre of Liverpool out to Aintree, which is about, a half-hour journey, do you reckon?
Yeah.
About that. So we were in a taxi on the way there, and my friend, the one with the courgettes, texted me and said, the coach hasn't arrived yet. It's 20 minutes late. By the time we got to Aintree, they were 45 minutes late. Eventually turned up, an hour and 5 minutes late. So it was a little bit darker when they got there. But it was a carnival ball, and we did have an absolute ball. That's the suite. Never let it be said that Mike doesn't know how to have an awful lot of fun with balloons. We did forget to take pictures of the food until the dessert arrived, because it was adorned with flowers and nobody knew if they were edible or not. Would you have eaten that flower? I don't eat that kind of stuff. Mine was ice cream, and there was more flour than ice cream. Would you have eaten the flower? I must admit, I didn't. I'm like, what is this and why is it in my food? So I actually took it out. I don't think anybody at our table ate it. And I didn't hear anybody falling ill, so you never know. Anyway, we danced the night away. It was amazing. And that was the end of the evening. Never let it be said that we do not know how to have a really, really good time, because we do. Sunday, well, what can I say? Yay! Another year older, but never mind. And I'd picked my fun. I was going to the Dogs Trust Merseyside Fun Day. And it was fabulous. When you're greeted with that sight on the way in, how could you not have a wonderful time? Well, last time we went, we had the most amazing breakfast. But you'll notice this time, if you can just see the top of that, we were greeted by a little sticker that said, the breakfast is a new lower price. And then underneath it said smaller. I wasn't impressed. Until it turned up. Not bad at all. Not quite as big as Fridays, but not bad. But the reason we were there was to see the dogs, because we love dogs. And we headed over to the Dog Dash. And look what we found, a male look-alike. This one was called Crystal, and she'd only been adopted 3 weeks before. So her and her sister both had a go at the Dog Dash, which is basically an obstacle course for dogs. They're like bales of hay and they've got to jump them. And I said to Mike, if that was Maya, he'd be a shoo-in. He would completely win. We had a fantastic day. Rounded it off with Mike, again, helping himself to something. He does like his hot chocolate, does Mike. So yes, we had a fabulous, fabulous time. Oh, Carl, I'm so jealous. You followed the yellow dog down the motorway. I wonder where they're on the way to. There is a Manchester Fun Day, and I would love to go to it. Sadly, by the time they had announced the date, we'd already arranged something else. So unfortunately, we're going to miss the Manchester one. But hey, they put that one on my birthday, so you can't say fairer than that, can you? So that was our week. We had a fantastic, fantastic week. And you even got to hear about the courgette story. Can't say fairer than that. So, on with the tech. We mentioned Devonthink a couple of shows back. The new version 3. Subscription, not pleased. Oh no, not subscription, activated. Activated, not pleased. But this week, new beta has come out. To be honest, the stuff that's in it, there's a press release explaining all that's new. It's very much tweaks. It's not adding huge features because they're already there. It's just taking into account your feedback and adding that to it. But if you have got it, update it, etc., and have another dabble. I don't think it's going to be long before that's released, and I'm thinking of leaving the dedicated session to it to when it actually comes out. It's a complicated piece of kit, isn't it? So, who's been hit by the Adobe CC debacle? I know what you're thinking. Which one? Yes. Well, Adobe, you know what they're like. Adobe don't like you not paying for your software, hence the subscription, which is exorbitant, as we all know. Now, for many, many reasons, some people are forced to use older versions. Now, I'm not going to say old versions, but older than the very, very latest. I know Mike is on, and I are on fast insider updates for Office, because I don't care if Word breaks. I just want the latest toys. And you're pretty much the same with Excel, aren't you? But for some people, like Mike at work, you can't put software on unless it's been tested, regression tested, stress tested, tested in all kinds of ways. So, some people, not me. I didn't get one of these, which is why I didn't know about it for a day or so. But they have started sending messages out to people, warning them not to use old versions of the software. Fair enough, security. But this wasn't about that. This was using that, but saying that they discontinued older versions more than one version back, and that if users insisted on using it, they could leave themselves open to litigation. Not exactly the way to warm a customer's heart, is it?
Actually, I noticed something this week. You know that software store that we have at work?
Yep.
I happened to be in it looking for something else, and I happened to notice that it said Adobe 10, which I've got installed on my work laptop, is no longer supported.
Well, I'd imagine somebody the size of where you work for would be a prime candidate for litigation.
Yeah.
But again, like you're saying, what if you don't have a license? What if you're not a subscriber? What if you had an old version and you'd paid for it and you're told you can carry on using it until it doesn't work anymore? That doesn't include you might get sued. Does it?
No.
Not in my mind, it doesn't. Anyway.
Graham's so not impressed in the chat.
Graham, hang on, I'll carry on with the story. Right. The reason is, now it's not clear if they only mean subscription software, because I know loads of people using the original perpetual license stuff. Now, I'll make it clear. Adobe are not saying they will sue you. People who have complained vehemently and very loudly on Twitter have been told by Adobe Care it's to do with litigation. Yeah, well, you're threatening it. Yeah, no, what they mean is they are embroiled in litigation themselves with Dolby, something to do with copywriting. So what they've decided to do to appease Dolby is pull all the old software. But of course, if people have it and they're using it, then technically speaking, if Dolby are right in their assertions that, there's copyright infringement, then you're infringing their copyright. But you gave your money to Adobe. It's not good. It is not good. Now, I didn't get one of these mails because all my stuff is bang up to date. But I do have a machine. One day I'll show it you. It's behind me. And it died a death. Literally, I just came in one day and it had shut down and will not turn back on. But I deliberately have older versions of software on that for testing. So there are reasons that you may want to use old software. You're quite right, Carl. That's exactly it. Ford saying you can't drive your 5-year-old car because they've decided not. I agree with you. And people are playing holy heck. But what can you do as a customer? Very little. If you think about how they sell, massive air quotes, software, they don't. They sell you the right to use it, and now they've decided to rescind that. The position with perpetual license software, I don't know, because what they're saying is that they don't even consider the old perpetual license software from the year dot anymore, because CC's been around for over 5 years now. And that's available by you downloading it from them. They've also made sure now that you can only download it through the Creative Cloud app on your Mac, and that you can't go anywhere else like a website, the Adobe website, and download it. So do check it out if you're using older software carefully. Do I think one person would be sued? It would be incredibly unlucky if you were. It's more likely companies like Mike's talking about, where you've got 65,000 licenses. But that's not the point, is it? You've bought it. At the point you bought it, it was on the basis you would perennially be able to use it, and now that's not what they're saying. Nice one, Graham. The last Lightroom update removed Lightroom from the applications folder and put it on the secondary hard drive. I have had a little bit of awkwardness with the Apple App Store. Not suffered that with Lightroom or anything Adobe-ish. The worst that Adobe did, they put an update out for Illustrator and it was basically balked, and it took about 10 days to get the next one out that fixed it. But they do allow you to download one revision back, so you could actually roll it back, which, if you think about it, is one more version than Apple allow, unless you've got a Time Machine or other kind of backup. But you see, all of this isn't the point. I don't know about you, but when I need to use my machine, I need to use my machine, and preferably my software. So this, I thought, was an absolutely horrific story. And Adobe have not exactly covered themselves in glory. You could say, they're at the wrong end of a litigation here, and it's all that they can do. But, maybe they need to think about that before they use other people's stuff and whatever. But we'll find out what happens. Don't support the companies. It was one thing for me. I sat there and thought, well, I do have a CC subscription, but if I'm editing a photo, it's going to be Affinity Photo. If I'm creating or editing vector artwork, it's going to be Designer. If I'm making printables, which I have been doing lately, I'll be able to show you some of those in the next 2 weeks or so. It's not even Publisher, Adobe Publisher, Affinity Publisher. It's the beta of Affinity Publisher that I'm using, and it's rock solid for me. For what I do, it's rock solid. So at least I don't have to rely on Photoshop anymore. But I did say to Mike, it's reaching the point. I think I may decide to bin this in the end. The reason that I don't is, clients send you stuff, and the smart objects are still way better in Adobe. We also used to use Adobe Audition for editing the show. We no longer do that. We edit it now in Hindenburg. In fact, Mike loves Hindenburg so much, he bought his own license. That's huge, because Mike's not an audio editing boy, but he is now. And I would think it's safe to say you actually understand Hindenburg and like it, whereas I do not see you with Audition in any way, shape or form, or anything else I've ever used to edit the audio for anything. So Hindy's the way forward, is the moral of that story in relation to audio. But want to keep an eye on, definitely want to keep an eye on.
Stick the link in. Carl's
Right.
just mentioned the thing you mentioned as well.
Which is
about doubling the price of the photo.
Yes, they doubled the price of the photo package as well, which we pretty much knew they'd do, didn't we? Once they'd got everybody on it at a good deal, we could see that coming. Well, I'll tell you straight, if they double the price of CC from what I pay, which is around the 42 quid mark, something like that, then they can kiss me goodbye. Not happening. Not happening at all. Good grief, for that I could have a car. And my car's as old as the hills, and I'm going to need one sooner or later. So no, I wouldn't do it. I would support other companies like Affinity. Anyway, talking of dodgy companies, Facebook. This was something I spotted. Yes, we love Facebook, don't we? Not. I tolerate Facebook because it's where my friends are. And I have had the discussion with people who loathe Facebook. Well, don't support them. That's not the point. That's not the point. I'm very careful with Facebook. But you have to use it, or I wouldn't be communicating with people that I want to communicate with. So sometimes it's just a given. Anyway, Firefox. Now, Firefox, I've had a love-hate relationship with Firefox since it came out. I could appreciate what it was trying to do, but I didn't like the interface. I switched when the interface to Chrome became even worse than the interface in Firefox, and then they improved Firefox. To be honest, this is not your father's Firefox. The new Firefox is fabulous. The interface is great, customization's great. I've not found anything that I can't do with it that I need to revert back to Chrome for, except, which I did explain, the Notion plugin. So it doesn't have a Notion Clipper at the moment, but I will be getting onto them. So I found this because Firefox is my default browser. And this is what I found. What on earth is this? This is Gmail. I took that screenshot earlier today. I've had to blank out one email because it has somebody's name on it. But other than that, that's exactly what you'll see in my email. And I saw these pink dots all over the place. And I thought at first it was a screen glitch, as you do. Anybody else seen these? Let me know if in the chat if you have. So I'm looking at them and I refreshed the page and they were still there. What have I got here? So after refreshing them up 9 times, and I spotted them on other pages as well, but I was particularly concerned about them appearing in my email. I hovered and I clicked, and this was what I found. Facebook Container has disabled this button and blocked Facebook from tracking your visit to this page. What? What do you mean, tracking a visit to this page? I did not have Facebook open. And this page is my private email. And I'm not a free G Suite Gmail customer. I'm a G Suite customer. I'm paying. So I don't see adverts in Google Mail. So why is Facebook trying to follow me? I have no clue. I have no clue. But I did know what that was because I actually installed it. It's an add-in for Firefox called Facebook Container. But what I thought it did was open up Facebook in its own virtual space in the browser. So if we have a look at it, that's the add-on page. And what it's saying is, now it does say it prevents it from tracking you around the web. But it's only in the last few days that it's actually started putting up this button, that, you know, the little circle thing, to let me know that Facebook is trying to track me. I think it's a good thing it's letting me know. I'm horrified. I'll tell you what it has persuaded me to do. Never, ever open Facebook in any other browser other than Firefox, or it'll be tracking me all over. So it's basically how Mike sends me an email and says, I'm interested in this microphone. And before I know about it, I'm on Facebook being shown adverts for the microphone. How did they know? Well, clearly they're reading my email. Really? Yes, apparently so. So I thought I'd show you how this actually works in Firefox. So if you remember, I opened this and I didn't actually intend to do this. You asked me about the courgettes, and so I opened it. You'll notice along the top of these things here. So here's the Facebook Container, and here is Facebook. I've got a couple of other tabs open for things we're looking at shortly. Well, let's take that back over here so they're next to each other. I've installed that, and that appears in here, Facebook Container. I do not have any of my extensions, and I do have a fair few. I do not have any showing. I never do that. I access them all with shortcuts. So I installed it, and what it does is it opens up I keep saying Firefox, don't I? Facebook in its own container space, meaning that all the activity within Facebook is isolated to within a container. And as we now know, when I go to other pages that Facebook would attempt to track me, it's now letting me know that it's attempting to track me and stops it dead in its tracks. That's fabulous. So that's what it is. That's where to get it. I will copy that and I will see if everything's working as intended at the other end. And the answer to that is no. Oh no, there it is. There it is. Right, let's copy that and put that in the chat. Don't you like it, Mike, when stuff works?
Love it.
I'm copying that on one machine, the one you're seeing, and I'm pasting it in on another one. So I've put, and to do that, I'm using Copied. Other clipboard extenders are available. We've not looked at Copied, have we? Mike, stick it on the list. I'm always looking for things to talk about. So I installed it. There's no configuration. It just takes care of it. It just takes care of it. One thing I would like is to see no adverts at all in here. And I do have an ad blocker installed. Just looking down there. Oh, that was our other meal. That was the week before. We get out a lot, don't we? Got anything else down here that's dangerous? No, you've seen the others, haven't you? I must have been to 2 other events. Oh, there's Mike a couple of years ago as well, doing his air guitar. Just look at that shirt sticking out. If you want to see these, you need to go look at my feed on Facebook. So it keeps Facebook contained within its own space so it doesn't track you. I think that is worthwhile using Firefox for. What I do, Firefox is my main browser, but I use Notion and I adore Notion. And because of the clipper, I use Notion in Chrome. If I used anything other than Firefox as my main browser, what I would do is install Firefox and use it only for Facebook, and then you're not tracked. It's dangerous in Firefox. Let me see if I can find a photo that I put up about a few months ago. Oh, where is it? What date are we on now? April. That was a video. It was way back. It was last September. Let me see if I can find the photo from last September. Let's keep going backwards. March. I'm in March. I need to be... Oh, there's February. I'm just whipping back, trying to find... what, January? January, not far now. Not far now. Hang on, November. Right. What am I looking for, Mike? November. No, it was September. That's right. You're wondering why there's carrots in there as well, aren't you? Oh, there's a lovely Ollie. Right, October. Oh, look at that dog. It's fabulous. It was around October time. I think it was towards the end. Oh, no, it was September, wasn't it? There we are. Right. These photos, they're shocking, aren't they? They're shocking. So as it says, an average Saturday night out with a gang. I uploaded those photos. All right. Now, the 2 people on the left are not on Facebook. The 2 people on the right, one is, but she's wearing a wig, and it must have confused them. This lady here, this is Rachel, our darling daughter, with her other mother and father. But in the middle, we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. I uploaded that photo, and it instantly knew who it was, and that freaked me out. If I go through the other photos, yep, it's picked up both of them that time. I did not say I was with them. It recognised them and added their names. This is where Facebook gets scary. This one, it actually added another person. And again, I did not put the name. Now, I'll tell you. In fact, you know, let's have a guess. Which one of those ladies do you think is Kath? Now, you know, I've already said that the lady on the left, not on Facebook. The other 2 on the right. Yep, so that really just leaves one. This lady in the middle here, it recognised her, even though she's wearing fancy dress. And that scares me. The facial recognition on Facebook is lethally good. Scarily good. I'm on that photo. It didn't recognise me. I outwitted Facebook. I'm Darth Vader. That's me there. In my homemade Darth Vader kit. The lighting in these photos is shocking, but the reason I'm showing you this is just to prove a point that, you know, Facebook knows far more about you than you would probably be comfortable with it knowing. So if you can keep it contained in its own container, I think that's a really good thing. Thankfully, it didn't recognise Mike. He's down here in the Stormtrooper outfit. He is actually looking straight ahead. What he didn't realise was his helmet was on sideways. And he hadn't even started drinking at that point. So just really proving a point, be careful with Facebook. Facebook's lethal.
Just an average Saturday night out.
Yeah, just an average Saturday night. In fact, there is one other person it didn't recognise in that one, and that's the guy on the left. And that's because he's bald. In that one, he's got a wig. And he outwitted Facebook with a wig. You can also see up here that it says Facebook and there's a gate, and that's letting me know that it is open in a container and it is contained within it. So at least it can't find out stuff from my email or any other tab I might have open. I think that's terrifying. Terrifying. Luckily, when people do post a picture of me, it doesn't recognise me because it hasn't got that many to go at. That's why. Yes, she's paranoid. So, just a quick one there. Worth using Firefox no matter what. Now, what I'm going to do now is get out of the way.
Was it my go now?
Oh, Graham uses that. It's a good one, isn't it, Graham? It is your go, Mike. I'm going to get out of the way with my kit while you strut your stuff. You've got one slide, haven't you? And then you're going to need to turn the camera on and stuff. He said as he knocked the camera flying. So, you're sitting here.
I'll sit there.
Right. Do you want to just do your intro over there?
I could do my intro over there.
Yes, because they won't hear you if you don't, and then I can clear it for you so you can share your screen.
Right. Okay.
This was something Mike had that I thought he should talk about because it's cool.
Yeah. Let me just find my notes.
Oh, he's working with notes.
Yes.
Oh, would that I had time to write them. Fly by seat of pants, that's me.
Right, okay. At work, I attend a lot of meetings and I deliver a lot of training, as many of you know. And 90% of the meetings and the training courses that I deliver are delivered via Skype. And everyone gets a USB headset, which I would have shown you, but I'm not in front of the camera, so I'll show you when I get over there. So a while ago, my boss asked me if I wanted to play with a toy. And at that point, I will go over and do the demo.
That's the toy. Okay, let's get you out. You want that on?
Yeah.
There's my laptop. Let's get that out of the way, and I'll leave you to it.
So, here is said headset with a cable that's all tangled up. So it's just a standard USB headset. Everyone gets something similar to that, just plugs in. But the toy is a Sennheiser SP 20 ml high-speed, high-end speakerphone, which is that there. So that's the toy. It plugs into a PC or a Mac, USB. And then when you join the Skype meeting, you select it as the device that you want to use. So use it instead of a headset. And if you're thinking why, because I think that's what you said, didn't you? You said
Yep.
why. It's handy when you've got, say, 3 or 4 people who are in the same room and they join a Skype meeting. Or maybe you've got 3 or 4 people having a face-to-face meeting and then they want to bring someone else in who works in another location, so you bring them in via Skype, because the last thing you need is several people crowding round a computer all trying to talk and listen. It doesn't give a great experience. I also use it when I'm training, because what I do when I'm training via Skype, I tend not to sit down. I mean, I'm sitting down now, but when I'm delivering a training course, I wear my headset, my USB headset, and I tend to wander around the room just because I feel better when I'm talking and walking around. No other reason than that. And obviously then you're restricted by the length of the cable, and the cable tends to get knotted as well. So I tend to what I do is I just plug this in to the USB socket on my computer, and then I just talk normally. It gets quite a good range, so I don't have to shout or anything like that. But you can also use it for a portable speaker. So it's not just for meetings and training. You can actually just plug that straight into a USB slot, play your music off your computer, and it acts as a speaker.
I'm setting this up so you can show it.
Right, okay. Saves me bringing my Surface over. But it also has another cable. It has a 3.5mm jack cable. So that can be used on a phone or a tablet, which I have here. So let's get that cable. Let's plug that in.
Right,
like
Skype's
that.
up and running. Call recorder's up and running. And if you want to use Spotify to play something, do not play
Morrissey.
much. No, don't play much because YouTube won't like it.
Right.
They'll ban us.
I will come back to that in a minute. I'll just finish this demo. Okay.
Do you know what? Let's play Night Bites.
So I'll go into Spotify and I'll play a couple of seconds of something. And what it should do is it should just play it directly out of the speaker. There we go. That'll do. That'll do. So yeah, you can just attach that to your phone and it'll play. It also has cable management, I call it. The cables, if I get rid of my adapter, the cables just wind up, which is really cool. And then it comes in this little carry case here.
Feels a sturdy piece
It
of
is.
kit.
It is a sturdy piece of kit. Shall I plug this in? Do you want to plug it in?
Well, they'll need to see that. There we go.
Where's the USB there? I'm sure they've seen a USB being plugged,
Right way up at home.
being plugged into a Mac before. Right. Should we click listen now?
Shows. Let's get the last show going.
We need to turn this round. Oh, it's okay. They can see the screen.
Let's get into it. We don't particularly want to see it. We want to hear it, don't we? Oh, come on. It's gone direly slow. There we go. That's coming out of here.
I know. It obviously needs to configure it.
Okay. Let's go into sound.
Yeah, you have to choose it.
Right, so
Go to input.
well, if you move that,
No,
then
it's
we'll
output,
see it.
isn't it? Where is it?
Input, that's out. Oh, well, it's output.
It's
you need.
output.
Scroll.
There it is. Ah, there we go.
We are not in a safe and warm cocoon.
All you have to do is select it.
As you may be able to tell from the audio, good quality.
We have no idea. It is.
You notice we're not even doing the feedback thing. No. So there's
Right, that's enough.
That's really good.
YouTube won't like it.
Oh no, that's fine.
Oh, is that fine?
We own that.
Okay. So there we go. There is my toy that I thought I would show you. So I will now...
You need to say the price.
The price. The price when I looked at it was something like $1,800. And then I realised I was looking at a site that was a Hong Kong based reseller. No, the proper price is about £120.
I'd buy one if it was a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, it's a very good toy. Right, I will get out of the way and I will present you.
Ooh, I'm bringing more kit across. There we go. Ooh, don't you like my desk when it looks like that?
Now my iPad.
Oh, do you want your iPad?
I want my iPad.
Oh, but I like it looking like that. It looks cool.
Yeah, well, I like my iPad.
Swine. Right, okay, let's get back in here and have a look at what's next. Oh, it was my 13-year-old tech saving the day. Ah, right, this is a good one. So, we were away for the weekend. Mic, phone. Right, let's move that one. Oh no, I'm going to need that one. Hang on, let's bring that one back. Right, let's put that one there. Okay, so we're away for the weekend. Picture the scene. No, this wasn't away for the weekend, was it? This was before we even got away for the weekend.
Thursday.
You might remember we had a toy. I unboxed said toy Just in case you've forgotten, let me remind you. There it is. Right, let me get... That's my squeaky chair. I need a new chair, don't I? Definitely need a new chair. Right, let's bring this back. This was the thing we unboxed. Do you remember them? Oh, you won't forget. The major unboxing. Well, this was one of the things we unboxed. And we got it open, but we didn't really have much of a time to play with it and check it out. This was a microphone kit, a wireless microphone kit. So we now have in here, it's got batteries in it. Where were they? They were in here. I got some new Honor loops for the thing. There we go. So you can't see the Honor loop. There we go. There it is. So these are your wireless transmitters. Yes, these are transmitters. And they transmit to a receiver. You'll notice one of these aerials is bent. That wasn't me. It was Mike. We've had words about it. So we have two of those, and they connect to headsets, very skinny headsets, and this bit is the receiver. Now, this was for when we go live. So this is the receiver part of it, and it pretty much had everything that we thought we were going to need. So let me move that so you can see it. There it is. So it has multiple inputs, multiple outputs. It was all very fine. But it gets to Wednesday night, before a presentation on Thursday night. This is the Thursday before we went to Liverpool. So you can imagine how busy we were. Not to mention the short matter of 120 sandwiches, which we won't discuss. I didn't make them. So I gets the whole lot out and I tries it. And everything seemed to be fine. All these knobs control the volume and inputs. You turn it on with the one in the middle. But then I thought, oh, I'll need to plug it into a speaker. And what I expected was that I'd be able to plug a speaker into the back. No such luck. It did have right and left out, but it didn't work. Now, when I say didn't work, it needed to go through an amp. At which point, I don't even think Amazon Prime could have helped me at this point. I realised we didn't have one. Nightmare. We were going to wear these on Thursday night at a presentation and we needed sound and we had no sound. So I sat down and thought there's got to be something in here, something that would plug in to this bit here and give me sound. Now it came with one of these, which is just your standard audio cable. So what it actually wanted us to do was plug that in there and this into something else. But the something else was going to have to be an amplifier. So if you think about how your old stereo system works, that would have been fine, but it didn't have one of those. Plugging that into my MacBook Air did neither man nor beast any good. So I had no sound. I knew everything was working. You'll like this one as well. This was another 13-year-old piece of tech. Remember that fabulously snazzy audio device we had? Let me show you. We had two of these. We have the H4 on the right and we have the H6 on the left. Fabulously snazzy pieces of audio equipment, actually in use right now. Neither of them had an input suitable for this. So, how I tested it was with a H2. Who remembers what a H2 looks like? I'll go get mine and show you. It's a good job I've tidied up and everything's exactly where it should be. Okay, this is a H2. I've had this years. I think I've had it 10 years. It's a digital recorder. Obviously, it's much, much smaller than the others that you see, and you can't plug an XLR into it or anything like that. It's just a digital recorder. But it does have a tripod stand on it, and it does work in a standard microphone stand, which I can show you. I'll go get that. Yes, I have everything in the right place. It's scary. I use one of these for that. So that thing there with tripod holder on the top. So you screw that into it I know it looks weird. It looks really weird, but it works. It works as a microphone. So let me show you that. There's the microphone stand. And what you do is you pop that into it. So it looks like that. It's fabulous. Point being with it, for my purposes, as you look at the inputs here, it has inputs that the other two do not have. It has line in and it has an external microphone in. So I used that to test this whole kit that you see on the desk, and it worked fabulously. I did not want to rely on that on the night, obviously. It's as old as the hills. I don't think I've got a power supply for it either, so it'd have to have been on batteries. I didn't fancy it. I did not fancy relying on that on the night. So I convinced myself that all of this kit here was working, but I was a piece missing. Never good to find you're a piece missing after close of business the day before you need it. So what on earth did I do? Well, the 13-year-old piece of kit was the answer to what happened. And that was that. Who knows what one of those is? Obviously, it's a Griffin. And they used to be quite pervasive, I think, in the Mac world, don't you, Mike?
Mm.
Yeah. We had one years ago. And I think Mike was like, what do we need that for? And the answer was, because.
Oh, Jane because.
Yes, it was a Jane because.
It was a Jane because.
It was a Jane because. Because it's always worth having something like that. Even more so now, if you think about it, because the input is a USB. So basically what you're doing with it is you plug that into a USB slot on your Mac and it gives you audio in and out in terms of microphone and line in. So it's incredibly flexible. Right. Carl says it's a doodah. Yes, exactly, it's a doodah. Actually, it's called a Griffin iMic.
A doofer.
A doofer. That's another one. Yep, a doofer. It is amazing. I paid £15 for mine in 2006. That's pertinent as we come on and look at this. And that was what saved our bacon during our live presentation. It did. It did. It was amazing. We have more than one of these because I sussed about 8 years ago that they were becoming a little bit scarce. And I had my original one just stop working. I probably did something wrong and blew it, but whatever, it stopped working. So I decided to buy a replacement. They were £15 at this stage. I think the original price was about 28. So having seen them for 15, I bought 5 of them. I know, that's gratuitous. I spent £75 on these. I'm glad I did. It saved my bacon.
Why does Elaine need Tony iMic?
Yes, because. So that's what it looks like. I've got it on the desk to show you how I configured it and how I set all of that up. But it saved the day. And you can still buy them, but more on that shortly. So that was what I had. That's what we've just seen. That was the kit. So Mike had one of those on, I had one of those on, and everything was working fine. We used the headset on the right, although, as it said, extra gift, it did come with lavaliers as well. As you can see here, you've got your volume, so your volume on pack A, your volume on pack B, and then you can control it for echo, and it was all working fabulous. The problem was this bit here, which was taking the out. That was the problem we had, and this was how we solved it. Well, Mike was in bed. This was how I solved it, obviously. Right, let's get on here so you can see mine. There we go. That's it. So it's very tiny. And shall we just say it was a good job I was using the MacBook Air on the left of your screen and not the right? Because the one on the right is the new one and it only has 2 USB-C ports on it. This one's a real computer with ports. So all I needed to do was slot that into the USB slot. And that instantly gave me another audio interface. which I set to microphone. So this thing at the side is a switch, and you can switch it between a line in and a microphone. And I wanted to be able to control the volume, so I put it on microphone. The other bit was this bit, which is the box we've already seen. This is the receiver. So I had the receiver set to the side, and I had plugged in the audio cable that we're looking at now. So that one was plugged in the out that we saw before, the left and right out. And all I needed to do, because on the Griffin you have an in and you have an out. And of course this needed to be an in, and I plugged it in there. And that's it. That's all it needed. £15. Now, obviously there's an issue now. I mean, that couldn't be easier. As soon as that's plugged in here in your audio setup, you should be able to see that a Griffin iMic appears. So let's move you a bit nearer. And there you go. So one at the bottom. iMic USB audio system. And that will appear in your outputs, and it will also appear in your inputs. Should do. Should be at the bottom of that list there. There we go. And your inputs as well. So it gives you an in and an out. It was amazing, and you could not get robbed for £15. There's a couple of issues with it now, though, but that was what I did, and that was how simple it was to actually solve that problem. Now, let me see. I don't think I did actually put these in. Let me have a look. No, I didn't. So I'm going to go back to the iMic while I tell you about it. You can no longer get that from Griffin. They're out of stock. And as I say, I bought those 5 iMics in 2011. So that's 8 years ago. And they were all 5 sat in the drawer. I opened this one especially. But I thought to myself, what price are they now? Can you even get one? Oh, you can. £65. I got 5 for £10 more. So they're quite expensive now, which is most unfortunate, to be honest, because they do work fantastically well. And in some ways, it's more important to have one now than it was in 2006 when I bought my first one, because we no longer have the microphone slot on an iMac. You know, we don't have the jack anymore that we used to have. So it's more important now, not less. And if you think about the state of the MacBook Air that's got 2 USB-C ports on it, fabulous. Can't plug much in there then. It's incredibly useful. So I went a-hunting. No, I couldn't find it any cheaper. But I did find a video from 2 years ago that said they were bringing out a USB-C version. I thought, fabulous, how much is that? Can never have too many of these things, as I just proved, so I was prepared to buy one. I watched the video. It was from CES in 2017. Or was it 2016? Could have been 2016. And it looked great. It looked exactly the same as that, but with a USB-C connection on the end. Can I find one? No, not for love nor money. I don't think it looks like it ever came out. So it looks like it really is end of life for it. But if you manage to find one anywhere, put it in your armoury. Because as was proved, that for £15 saved the day with the rest of the kit that was quite considerably more expensive. Now, instead of that, you could use an audio interface, but an audio interface is going to cost you upwards of £200. So even the iMic at £65 would still be cheaper. I must admit, the feel of it is not, it's a bit plasticky, but it does the job. And it's just a shame that there's nothing newer that does do the job. Most unfortunate, to be honest. But that was the 13-year-old piece of kit that saved the day in our presentation. That would have been a nightmare without that. We would have had real problems with it. Anyway, let's move on to the next bit. Oh, yes, the next bit. This is going to be good. To say that I'm somewhat underprepared for this, I've done it a couple of times. So what I thought we'd do is split this over a couple of shows. I know you all love Affinity Designer. I love Affinity Designer. So I was thinking the other day that I needed to create some artwork, and I thought as I was doing it, it would work as a pattern. Now, who's used patterns in Affinity Designer? Or anything else either, to be honest. You could do it in Photoshop. Let me know if you have. So what I thought we'd do in part 1 is actually create artwork that is a pattern. And then next time move on to actually using the patterns. So let's go in and do that. Why aren't you moving? You're not moving because I've made you not move. Okay. Right, let's go into Affinity Designer. I'm in the beta, latest version of the beta. Lately, every time I've gone into it, it's prompted me for an update. Thankfully, I did it yesterday and it's not done it today. Right, I want to make a pattern. Now, what we do with this pattern down the line very much depends, because you can virtually change everything about it. But what I'm doing now is actually focusing with you on the easiest way to create it. So it's using some features of Affinity Designer that, while you may be aware of, you might not have used it in this particular way. So I want to make a pattern. Now, when I say a pattern, I mean something that can repeat. Now, I'm going to make a very simple one, but I'll show you one here that is a pattern and would repeat. Right, so there you go. That's free from Pixabay, and it's artwork of some owls. Now, if we look at the leaves on the left-hand side at the top, and we look on the right-hand side at the top, they match up. And if we look at the bottom owls, we've got half an ear missing, and then a leaf and a stalk. But the missing part of the ear is over on the right-hand side. So what you're looking at there is patternable. Patternable. And that's the kind of thing that we're going to make. But I'm going to show you a few tricks to be able to line things up properly. So I'm not going to make an owl. I'm going to just use some circles. But the principle will be identical. So File New. And I will make this the right size. So let's go in and make it 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels. Because to be a pattern, it could do with being square. Oh, that was fabulous, wasn't it? I mentioned it was a beta. It's crashed. Oh, got to love it. Right, if you're not going to do that for me, go on. Oh, you're playing quite happily now. Okay. So I have... Now, it's made in artboard. That's not a problem for us, I don't think. I will call that pattern. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a circle pattern. So very straightforward. Get the circle tool over here and draw out a perfect circle. Now, what size do I need the circle? Well, I'm going to put 3 across the top. So I want something that works and something that's easy to think about. So over on the transform, I'll put in there, let's make it 250 and see how we go. So this is the first one. Let's have it a more exciting colour than that, though. Let's put some colours in it. No, I can't have pink. It would upset me. Let's go for a nice turquoisey colour. Right. I'm going to place that. Now, best way to go about this, you see it twangs as you're moving it. The red line means it's aligned to the top, and the one on the green one means it's aligned on the right. So you've got your x-axis and your y-axis lined up. Now, looking at the size of that, I could possibly go bigger than that. So let's try 500 and see how bad that is. And do the same again, which is align it to the middle of it each way. That looks about fine. So 500 pixels there. Now, I'm just going to check, is that going to be too big? It probably is. So let's not make that 500. Let's make that 300. I was nearer right in the first place. There we go. Aligned with the green and the red. Now, I need this pattern to repeat over here, but in the right way. So what I don't want is that, because that wouldn't align, would it? If I put 2 of these next to each other, what bit would I need there to finish it off? And that's what needs to be available on the right-hand side. So, one way to do it is the way you've seen me do it. I'm holding down the Option key And I'm dragging a copy of that, and then I have to align it and move it across and align it. But there's another way to do that. So let's just copy and paste. I've now got two shapes there. Just to show you that, I will change the colour of that one to something, oh dear, they're not good, are they? We'll make it green. Right, so I've got a green one, and underneath that I've got the turquoisey one. Right, one way to work with this is in your transform, where that one's positioned at -150, -150. We know that the artboard is 1000. Thus, the middle of it would be the starting point plus 500. 500's got to be the middle. But I'd have to do some maths at this point, and that usually freaks people out. The thought of doing the maths. But it's simple. Don't bother doing the maths. Let's go into the x coordinate, which should, if it wasn't -150. So what I'm going to do is take that out, and I'm going to put 650. No. What I'll do is I'll put 600. Right? And it will move. You will see it move. But that's not right, because it's not in the middle. Good, but no t-shirt. Right, would 650 be right? So I'll put in 650 and do them. Not in that one, it wouldn't, would it? It's that one. 650. Not really, no. Not quite getting there, are we? Why not? What should it be? I've no idea. You will have no idea if you're not good at the maths. All I know is that the midpoint's 500. So if it was 500 pixels to the right, it might just be in the right place. Right, well, what you can do is you can do maths in here. So if you type in plus and then 500, and then press enter, it moves it 500 pixels to the right. No matter where it starts, because I didn't have to calculate anything, thankfully. That's amazing. So you can do maths within your transform boxes. Prove that point. If you wanted that 3 times the size, and let's say your maths is really poor and you don't know that that's 900, you can actually say multiplied by 3. And it will increase it both the width and the height, because the lock is on the right hand side. So the lock is on here. I'm just going to undo that. So that's what we're working with. Now I'm just going to change that back to that colour, so they're all the right colour. And we've now got them in the right place. So if I select the 3 and I create a group of that, and that one would be the top row. So I'll even name it. Aren't I good? Top row. Right, I now need a bottom row. What would I have to do with the value in the X box to have that showing in the right place? What would I need to do? Now you've already seen I can do maths. Would it help if I changed 150 to 1000? That might work. Let's try it. Doubtful, but it's worth a go. So 1000. Yes, but no. What it's done is it's put the top edge at 1000, so it's scooted off the end. Not good. Right, before I need to do any maths though, before I start doing that, I need to copy and paste. And the one that I've got selected now is not the top row, that's the bottom row. So I clearly need to do some maths with it, but I'm maths challenged and I don't actually know what. But I know it's on the x-axis. And I'm pretty confident if I added 1000, I must be right. So Graham's saying 850. And it is spot on 850. And the reason it is because you're already at -150. So if you add 1000 to -150, you get 850. But who here hated maths on any level, and certainly when you were adding negatives? So it's far easier to just work in the figures that you know and add them in like that. So going back to the top, I'm going to copy and paste again. This one's the middle row, so I'll name that middle row. What do I need to do with that one? Now I think, Mike, I think I should actually wait and wait until somebody says, but it's not difficult, is it? We know for the bottom row, we added 1,000. So if I want this in the middle, what do I need to add to it? Over to Mike. What do I need to add to it, Mike? He's looking flummoxed. Oh, come on, spreadsheet boy. If I add 1,000 and it moves into the right place at the bottom and I want it in the middle, what do I add? He's challenged. Graham will put you out of your misery. Graham got a D in maths. I think I got an A in maths. I love maths. Hated French. Loved maths. You struggling there, Mike? You've no idea what to add to it?
No.
No. Anybody else got any idea what to add to it? Graham knows, because Graham got the first one right. If I want it halfway, and I added 1,000...
500.
Oh, he's there. Add 500 to it. So on the y-axis, where it's minus 150, just say plus 500. And it will scoot it down to the middle. Can't say fairer than that. Now, if we wanted to add more dots to that, so let's say what we want to do, so I'm going to just copy that and paste him in there. What if we wanted a dot there? That'd be a really nice dotty pattern, wouldn't it? But is it right? Is it in the right place? Well, I'm not 100% sure. So we need a better way to do that. So I'm going to copy that one and paste that one. So this is really our starting point. This is the one we've used for this. And this is the one at the top that's in the right place. If we moved this one, so the one over there would be plus 500. So we don't really want to take it plus 500, do we? Because we want this bang in the middle of these two. So what do we add to it, Mike? He doesn't like me asking these questions. If we added 500 to get halfway between 0 and 1,000, what do we add to get it halfway between 0 and 500?
250.
Way 250. Let's try that. So over here, let's say...
I thought there was a catch.
Oh, now he's trying to be clever. Plus 250. Awesome sauce. That's in the right place. So, what do we do with the y-axis, Mike? Wants to give up now. Wants to cry.
I'll leave it to Graham.
Graham says 250. Should we add 250? Add 250. Spot on. Now we know that that's right. Now, obviously, I'm showing you really a long-winded way to do that, so you know that you're absolutely spot on. Literally pixel perfect you are. I'd probably, no, I've got one, eyeball it, I must admit, because it will tell you when it's aligned like that. That should be right. Are you right? Maybe you're not right. Might not be the best idea I've ever had to eyeball it. So copy paste, and over here in the X, what do I add, Mike?
250.
No, not 250. That'll put it in the
500.
middle. Let's add 500.
750.
Mike's just guessing now.
I'm going in multiples of 250.
He's just guessing.
You get nothing for a pair in this game.
No, you don't. You don't. So let's do that. And what would I add to that?
250.
No!
500.
500. There you go. So move it down by 500, and now we've got a dotty pattern. There you go.
Yeah, I'm dotty.
Mike's getting very confused. But really, it's just to prove the point that you can actually do maths with this. See, Graham's red hot here. Considering it's a Friday night and it's late, Graham's red hot. I'm impressed, Graham. I'm impressed.
I see dots.
Mike's seeing spots before the eyes.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm creating groups here. So that's mid-top row. And the other one is mid-bottom row. Mid-bottom row. And we've got a pattern. We've got a pattern, which we could, if we wanted to, group the entire thing together. It's looking very dotty, isn't it? Very dotty. The idea is, of course, once you've got your group here, I'm just thinking, yeah, I want to show you how that actually works when you come to paste the thing in, to be honest. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to crop that down so it's cropped down to the box. Now, normally what I would do is export this. In fact, you know, let's do it that way instead. Let's do it that way. I will go and I will export my pattern, which is this one down here. I'll export it to a PNG. It's just called pattern at the moment. That's fine. We'll stick it on the desktop. And away you go. You know, anytime's good. Brilliant. I'll get a new file in here. It crashed, didn't it? Let me just save that file before I go any further. Let's put it on the desktop. So pattern, my Affinity file. And we'll go and make a new file. And this one, I'll make this one 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels. And OK. Awesome. Right, and what I'll do now is get my pattern PNG. Now, you wouldn't do it this way. This is just me demonstrating the use of it, but I'll demonstrate the use of it more next time. But if I bring that in and I place that on my artboard, that's one copy of it. What you'll find is if you copy and paste, they're on top of each other at the moment, but if I go into my x-axis and I add... What do I add, Mike?
250.
No!
500.
No!
1,000.
1,000. Right, what will happen is it will move the second pattern 1,000 pixels to the right and it will extend the pattern. And I can do the same again. So copy, paste into there where it's now 1,000 and add another 1,000 to it. You can do maths in Affinity. Who knew? Copy, paste. Plus 1,000. And once more, copy, paste. It's now at 3,000 and add 1,000. We're all enjoying this maths. Yeah, my tax form takes forever as well, Graham. So, having got them lined up like that, I can select them all and create a group of that. Copy, paste, and this time add 1,000 on the y-axis. There we go. And so forth. Copy, paste, add 1,000. So really just showing you a million times what you can do. Now, have I done that the right way? Have I done that the most flexible way? You can see it's working. That's fine. What wouldn't I be able to do with this right now easily in this file? There we go. So we've got a big dotty pattern, which looks like it's got, see the join? But the join disappears the nearer you go into it. So it's just a visual thing. What wouldn't I be able to do easily with that? Which should send me back to where I was, screaming and thinking, why did you do that? You should have done that a different way. What could I not do easily? What would a client say to you? Oh, loving that. Can I have it pink? Short answer? You swine. Not easily, no. Not from what I've put in here, because if you remember, it was PNG. Back in here, yes, is the short answer. If we grabbed hold of that, one option would be to make it pink. You could do it that way. Lots of different shades of pink. Yucky pink. And of course, then it crashes. Come on, designer. Good job I saved that file, wasn't it? I knew I was doing the right thing, saving that file, Mike. There you go. It found it as well. So, yes, I could go back in and I could, even if I had to do it individually, I could change the colour. I could even make these ones green in the middle. Like that. But it's time consuming and I've got to redo everything. There are two things I could have done instead of that. What are they? Have a think about what we've talked about before. With more complex shapes like the owls on the tendrils, how would this method translate? Pretty similar, to be honest. Pretty similar. I will show you that. I will. I'm wondering what that file is actually looking like. But the principle is exactly the same. The principle's the same. But at the moment, let me just talk about the colour. Because the colour will have an impact. Well, there's two ways to do this. So I'm showing you the colour and saying, what's the problem with this? And the problem was, if we wanted all of those to be a different colour, we would have to come in and generally start fiddling. There is a feature in Affinity Designer that stops you having a problem with that. We've demonstrated it before. I love it. It's very easily overlooked. And that is the different types of colours that Affinity Designer supports. So if we go into here, we have 3 palettes at the top with an Affinity Designer logo. Then we have all of these palettes with an Apple logo. The top 3 are application palettes. The ones with the Apple are system palettes, but there's another type of palette. Documents don't have this other type of palette by default, but if you go into here, you can add an application palette, the ones you've seen, system palette, the ones with the Apple logo, or a document palette. I'm going to add a document palette. It makes it available, but calls it unnamed. So first thing I'm going to do is rename the palette. I must admit, I usually call that document, so I know it's a document palette. Now, why have I bothered doing that? Well, if I show you an application palette and we look at this little symbol next to it, I know it's tiny, but if we look at that, there's only one of them. There's a big gap next to it. So we have a button, a gap, and 4 swatches. We go into the palette one, the system, the system one. We have the button, we have a gap, and we have 4 swatches. But if we go into the document one, we acquire an extra button. And that extra button, it's incredibly difficult to see, and I haven't got my zoom tool set up, which is my fault, my bad. But this will add the current fill to the palette. So if I wanted to add whatever is selected in here, I click that button. The one next to it is 2 swatches with a chain link between them. And what that is saying, if I hover a little bit, add the current colour to the palette as a global colour. Global colours are your friend. So what I'm going to do, I'll leave that one alone, but I'll add the same colour, but I'll add it as a global colour. So we've got 2 of these. Now, which is which? Well, if I go in there you go, and I choose a nice bright orange, and OK, and I add that as a global one, you can see the global ones have a little triangle in the lower left corner. So that's the distinction between a global colour and a standard colour. Now at the moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the 4 there, and I am going to make those that colour. And I'll get the one. Would this actually be easier done another way? Yeah. Tell you what I'll do. I will make them that colour. They all look the same, but they're not. If I double click on that colour, I can then change it. I can make that a much deeper blue, or I can take it up to purple. Fabulous. Nothing changes. It's just a colour swatch. It only exists in the colour palette. But if it's a global colour, and I do that, so make it deeper blue, take it up to purple, it replicates itself through the document. That's what global means. And the reason that only those 4 changed was only those 4 were selected and had that colour applied to them. What I'll do now is select all of the others and make sure that they've got that colour. Then go back in, make some more changes. Make it orangey, reddy, brown, green, and the whole lot change. So when you're working with this, it's very tempting to just go in there and throw something together. I know that. You just want to see if it works. But if you do it right, you make your life easier down the line when the client decides they want it sky blue pink. So that's the first thing to think about. There is another way to do that. And that is not necessarily using a global colour. You can use both of these methods, but not necessarily with a global colour. And that is to make each of these shapes, make one of these shapes a symbol and then duplicate that. That's getting a little bit off topic. It's talking about symbols, not what we're talking about here, which is patterns. So, in relation to the question that's coming from Charles, which is how does it translate to more complex things? Let's have a look at that. So I'm going with that to turn off my group. So I've got my pattern, but it's very simple. And I'm going to find, let's go and find, the owl, which I downloaded, but I wasn't going to do the owl till next week. Hopefully he's in the Walker's Warblings. That looks like him over there. So I'll open it with Affinity Designer. Might regret this. Oh, there he is. Not too tricky at all. And let's have a look what we've got. How does this work as a pattern? Well, we've got, looks like a top group and a bottom group. Yep, top one underneath, bottom one on the top. We go into here. Now, the problem, because this is an SVG, is everything is basically different shapes. But we have an owl, and somewhere in here, we will have just that bit of an owl there. So let's try and grab that ear. There we go. I can get the top bit. Hang on. I saw him. Where did he go? Let's get that ear. There he is. So it's a group, and it looks like it's got two pieces in it, the two bits together. But you probably wouldn't be designing it like that. If you were like me, you'd be thinking in terms of, well, I've got this owl. So I'm going to select, I'm going to try and get all the bits of this owl here. Every last bit of that owl. Now, I do appreciate that this owl, why has he got green feet? He's actually got green feet. How alarming. Never mind. All right, I've got that owl. I'm not worried about the vine at this moment. I'll worry about the vine later. But at that point, I've got an owl. I haven't got his eyes. Here's his eyes and his chest. And another curve. I think I've got the whole owl. I'll find out. How I will find out is by turning it off, and I'm a piece missing. I need a circle. That's probably it there. That looks like I've got the entire owl. What I'm going to do is group it. Now, if you've drawn this, you won't have to do that. I'm cheating and taking something that's already drawn to show you how you can deal with it as a pattern. So I've copied it and I've put it in here. Oh, he's tiny, isn't he? Let's make him bigger, him and his green feet. Right, there's the owl. We'll make him about that size so we can get 3 of him on there. Let's say I want the owl like that. And I would want another owl here, but maybe I would want him rotated like that. And I want it like this. So I'm making up a pattern, basically. But the most important thing that you need to think about is, now I've got this owl hanging off the end, how do I guarantee that it will match the other side when I use it as a pattern? So in Charles's words, how does that translate to something more complicated? Right, so I'm going to get rid of him because he's just distracting. We need to make sure that this owl here matches up on this side. Anybody got a clue how we do that? It's actually nowhere near as complicated as you would think it was. First thing to do, copy and paste the owl. The owl is in the same place, but there are 2 of them. So there he is if I move him. Undo, put him back where he was. We know the position because the transform tells us it's minus 44.6, on the x-axis and 13.7 on the y-axis. And if you're like me, you're like, and? I just need the owl in the right place. How do I make sure that that owl is in the right place? Well, it's pretty similar, isn't it, to what it was before? What did we need to do to that to move it? Shall I ask Mike? He's gone dizzy, poor Mike.
500.
Add 500, Mike says. What? Well, what would that do? It would put it in the middle. We don't need him in the middle. We need him at the other end. What if we added 1,000? That is the matching piece. It doesn't matter what the shape is. If you move it 1,000 pixels, what you will get on the right-hand side is the bit that's missing on the left-hand side. It's maths magic. And the same principle applies. So I'm going to duplicate him and let's hang him off completely. Let's cut him right down the middle. Exactly the same principles. Seriously. All I need to do is to go in the X and plus 1,000. Hang on, needed to duplicate him first. Copy, paste, and add 1,000. And the bit that you can see on the right will match the bit that you can see on the left. Before I show you that and prove the point, let's do something even more complicated, which is, let's hang him off the top. Now what do you do with it to get it to match? Well, it's exactly the same principle. Copy, paste, and add 1,000. But not to the x-axis, but to the y-axis. And the bit that's hanging off is the bit you need. I'll then duplicate him, and these are the ones where you can rotate and do all kinds of things, because they're just going to be wherever. Obviously, you want it to look more patterny than I'm doing. I'm just doing this to prove a point. Right, I'm going to save that, and I'll do the same thing again. I'll export that, and I don't want that. Good. Let's put owls on the desktop. And I'll get a bigger document, so a new file, 5,000 by 5,000 will do nicely. Please don't crash. And we will drag in the PNG of owls. And then make it full screen again. Oh, and unless I've gone terribly wrong, don't let me down. Don't let me down. I will copy paste. And I will add 1,000 on the x-axis to move that copy. And then I'll copy paste and I'll do it again. Plus 1,000. Then I'll go back to the first one, copy paste, and add 1,000 on the y-axis. And we'll see if they line up. There you go. They totally do. So actually, how complicated the shape is doesn't really matter. It's the maths that matter. If you try and eyeball it, you could be out. If you try and do it by hand, thinking, well, I'm minus 150, and then so 1,000 minus, and that's 850, so I'll check. Just let the thing do the maths for you. Just know the size of the artboard. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, the vines would cause you the headache. Let me have a think about the vines. I don't think the vines would be as much of a nightmare as you think. Looking at the vines, they actually look like copies of each other and they're upside down. But as long as the artwork has a repeat on 1,000, you'd be fine. So what I'll do for next time is sort the vines out. I've gone a little bit further than I was expecting with that one. I wanted to get to the point where the circles are there because I want to show you how to use it as a fill. But not tonight. That'll be next time. But now we've got an owl pattern to play with as well. So that one's not saved. Oh no, that one doesn't need saving, does it? Well, I'll do it anyway. I'll call it Owl Fill. There we go. And that way it's saved. Okay, so hope that was useful. We'll be coming back to that. All right, what have we got next? Oh, the unboxing. Well, before, as I said, it's a bit of an odd unboxing because I've already unboxed it, but there's a reason for that. Right, what I'm going to do is show you what the problem was. It is something that I've mentioned before, but what happened about 3 weeks ago put it in stark contrast for me. This is the problem. Not my friends. This is the problem. You see the light leak on the left-hand side? That's our local hostelry, you know, the one with the cakes. Ooh. Well, we were there and we needed a photo. You can see the guys at the back waving microphones around. There's a story to that, which I will tell you at a future event. But I took that photo and I knew the instant I'd taken it on my iPhone, it couldn't cope with the light. It's not a camera that's broken. That was my iPhone. It's shocking. Absolutely shocking. Tried it with the flash, it was even worse. The light leak on the left meant you couldn't see half the faces. I think up to the middle, where you've got the lady in the stripy top, you couldn't see it. It was too distorted. It was too... I mean, if I zoomed in, you'd see the grain on it, and it's shocking. Luckily, I'd made the decision, and there's a bigger story with this, but again, in a future show. Luckily, I'd taken with me a different camera. It's a 10-year-old Canon Compact. The next image was taken at the same time in the same place. That's a bit of a difference, isn't it? Let's go back and forward. That is shocking on every level. Even for an iPhone, that's shocking. Now, I appreciate there's light coming through those windows, and maybe it would have done a better job if I'd have shut the curtains, but come on. It's not my house. I can't shut the curtains. If I don't remember, Mike, we tried to shut the curtains and they were sewn, weren't they? They were actually sewn in that position. So, yeah, we've tried that before and it didn't work. The difference between those two images is night and day. And given what we needed this image for, again, in a future show, that was just no way that first one was going to cut it. So, the image you're looking at now was from a Canon G9, and I think I bought it in 2009. I figured it's time for an upgrade. But there's a new iPhone going to be coming out in the autumn, and I didn't really want to spend a fortune on a camera. I will say that the iPhone that took that is an iPhone 7 Plus. So we have since then had the... Was there a 7S, an 8, an X something? I'm all confused. But it's 3 years old, basically. But even so, I think it's shocking, 3 years old or not, because the other one's 10 years old. So because of that, I did not want to spend a fortune on the camera. I also needed the camera that I bought to be simple. Mike might need to use it. Not a camera person, are you, Mike?
No.
Don't want to fiddle with the ISO, do you?
No.
No. Doesn't know his aperture from anything else. So it needed to be simple, basically point and press, fairly inexpensive, and preferably take something more like that than that. So that was the unboxing. I went for this. There is a story to it, which I'll probably regale you with as I show you the box and everything that was in it. But I had looked at mirrorless, and I know that Graham's got, was it Fujitsu, Graham? One or the other? And I did look at that and lust for a while. This is not brand new, not by any stroke of genius, is it? It's a couple of years old. But I got a very good price on it, and that was why I was looking for it. It has a very nice back thing on it. Mine came with a Canon Compact case and a Joby Gorilla Pod. I'll also show you, because I've got those out as well. The first thing I wanted to do, because it's so tiny, the first thing I wanted to do was get a spare battery. It does not take AA or AAA batteries. It takes proprietary batteries. So the first thing I wanted was a spare one, because there's nothing worse than your battery going and you can't charge it when you're out. Brace yourself. Oh my word, the camera wasn't that much more. And it really was. That was the price of it. That's criminal. That's criminal. Luckily, from Amazon, I did manage to get that, which is a charger and 2 batteries for it, which means I've got 3 batteries and 2 chargers now for £30. You can see I purchased that on Tuesday. So let's go have a look at it. And then I'll show you what I managed to get it to do. So let's make some room on the desk. Got to love new toys, haven't you? Right. Camera is in its case, but this is what I actually got. Now, That is the travel kit, and that's why it came with the case and the Joby GorillaPod. Ah, no, G16, that's way younger than mine, Graham. But even the 9 was doing a decent job. I just wanted something that was point and press, but better than I'd got. That's where I was at. Another thing, as I was looking at them, was the zoom on it. Mine has a digital zoom of about 2. It's ridiculous. Just really for flexibility. Not that I intended to rely on it, but a decent zoom would have been nice. So what I did was I looked that up on Amazon, and I was looking at the 620, and it was £180. Then I looked at this one, which is the 720, and this one was 255, I think. And I thought, oh dear. The reason I was looking at it was that the zoom was better. But the one on Amazon wasn't this box, didn't come with the kit. The one on Amazon, let's get inside, just had the box in it. So this bit here, that was what you got off Amazon, just the camera. So it's the camera, the charger and a battery, and that was it. No card, nothing. That was what it came with. So you're wondering, how did I end up with the kit? Well, thankfully, before I decided whether to jump or not, I did something I don't normally do. I looked at Curry's PC World website. I know, the shame. And I found this kit on there, and it had literally just been reduced from £289 to £199. I was in there like flint. I ordered it online, reserved it, and headed off straight away. Didn't bother telling Mike, as usual, obviously. Did I, Mike? But told you when he came in. But by then it had been secured. I wasn't letting that out of my sight. I didn't have any idea if the GorillaPod would be any good. I've never had an original Joby one. And the case, I didn't realise until I got it, is actually a genuine Canon case. So I wasn't thinking in terms of that I was getting that much with the camera, with the travel kit. But it was worth having. And at least I didn't have to go source a case from anywhere else. So that was what I got. That's the box it came in, obviously. It was quite big in there because the case was in it. And the Joby GorillaPod, I think I haven't even taken that out. The Joby GorillaPod is still in it. There we go. As is the strap off the case. So that's the strap for the case, and that's the Joby GorillaPod. It's one of the smaller ones, but the camera's only small, so it shouldn't struggle with the weight at all. But I'm quite happy it's an original GorillaPod. I'd be a little bit worried about putting a camera on, a replica, just in case it wasn't that strong. But it should be okay on there. So, that's what we've got. Let's get that out of the way. Bizarrely, it came with this, which was crazy. Look at the size of this. And all that's in it is the getting started thing in 3,492 different languages. So the majority of that is absolutely useless. I did get from the Amazon site, even though I didn't buy it from Amazon, there's a link on the Amazon site to the PDF. So I'm halfway through the PDF. So let's get rid of that lot. I don't think I've got anything left in there. I think I took the whole lot out. But that was what was in there. There was a battery at the side, camera in there, charger, and the cable for the charger in that box. So fairly straightforward. Right, I'll forget if I don't do this bit now. But this is my little Cara case, which has got in it chargers. See that? Chargers. So there's the original one, which is that one. Now, there's a problem with that. I mean, yes, it'll charge it. Yes, I've labelled it. I'm good like that. The problem with it is it uses a 2-pronged tiny cable. So it's not the 3-prong kettle cable. We call that a 2-prong kettle cable. But that means you have to have a 13-amp socket to plug it into. That's not very portable when you're out, is it? Just in case you need to charge it. And obviously, like I said, they only ship you one battery. So, the one that I bought that had the spare batteries, this is the charger for that one. And again, I put the thing on the back. This one, totally different. This one doesn't need a 13 amp socket. All it needs is what I call a USB Kindle size cable. So you plug that in, which means that this will charge from your standard charging point. Look over the top right. This is my 10-point thing, my 10-port USB charger. Let's move it around a bit so you can see it. So all I actually need to do is to plug that into here. But even better than that, this is amazing. Love this bit. Looking for my battery. Right, where did the battery go? Had that on the table, not a Scooby's, it's vanished. But basically, is there a battery in there? Second one down. Top one. I put them away, that's what I did. No, it's not there. Give me a second. There's a black thing somewhere. There it is. This comes with being organised. If it wasn't organised, it'd be fine. Right, this is a case that I take out with me when I go in the car. You will see. Charging cable. More to the point, battery. This portable power thing will charge this when I'm on the road. So that does not need a 13 amp socket. There you go. It even lights up for you. So for the photographer, brilliant idea. Much better. So that's why I went and got that one. So I've shown you the battery stuff because I would forget that. I know I would. So let's get rid of the batteries and let's focus on the camera. Right, this little case it comes with, pretty awesome. It's got the carabiner on it. It's got these Velcro straps on it and they are tough. They are really tough. The batteries, the 2 spare batteries, they came with something extra. You can just see in there. They actually came with a cover for the top because they're quite tiny. But the contacts are exposed. So the one from Canon didn't come with anything. I'm assuming that's because they're assuming it's either in the charger or in the camera. But when you've got spares, it's actually very handy to have plastic covers for the top. So those are the spares. They take 2 hours to charge. I've tested both chargers. It takes 2 hours. So I'm keeping those in the front of there. And the camera is in the camera bit. There we go. It's fairly tiny and very light. Obviously, what I'm going to do is, we're going out, that photo you saw that was the test photo, that was from our breakfast club that we've just started 3 weeks ago. We go out on bank holiday. So I'm going out on Monday. Yes, to our hostelry. So I'm going to take this with us and take some more photos and see how it compares to the iPhone and the old G9. But you have a lovely bright 3-inch screen. I'm glad it's a Canon because I'm very used to the settings on it. So they're very similar to the G9. There is a weird thing about it though, which is you turn it on with that button there. The big button is the one that you take the photo with. But if you want to do video, there's actually a dedicated video button, as well as changing this round here to video. So before, you used to use the standard button with that set to video, but now you can just choose to press that video thing. Now, one thing I did earlier, because I've got some test photos on here, and I actually took one just before we started, of the studio. That's not where I am now, that's next door. And I forced the flash to come on. Let me see if we can get that at an angle. You can see the iMac, but not much more. I'll have to transfer this for next week so you can see it. You're not doing a good job of doing that for me, are you? Come on. No, you can just about see the iMac, but that's not amazing. But it's actually a pretty good image. The light's nice. So I can't tell you about the noise, etc., but the light's nice. And I did promise a tour of the studio, so I will get round to that, honestly. But what I have done with it, let's go back into camera mode, and let's do something very meta, and take a picture of me taking a picture, and see what we can get. Not expecting much. Let's have a look. Not bad. Not bad, seeing as I'm taking a picture of a picture of a picture. The flash is manual, so you flip that and the thing comes up at the top. So let's get back there. Let's try and force that one on. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. No, it doesn't think it needs it. Let me take something very dark. Everything's pretty light. We've got the light on, Mike. Turn the light off. Let's see if we can force this to take a picture of my dark keyboard in the dark with the flash on. Way, we got the flash on. Fantastic. Right, let's have a look at these. Ah, now see that without the light off. Yeah, it's a lot better, isn't it? So let's try going backwards. There's the ones I took. Let's get back to the studio. That's the first one I took. And, oh, you're failing again. You just don't want to show them that picture of the studio. And it's a beautiful picture. I don't know what's the matter with you. So I'll get these off and show you. But I've got some test shots that I did. The flash you do have to push down manually. So just click that in when you're done. But the zoom on this thing is amazing. So what I'm going to do now is I'll show you some photos that I've taken that I have transferred and I have put on slides. So let's have a look at those. This was literally before I had a chance to do anything with it. Anything at all. You can tell that with where I took it. This is our Curry's PC World. And all I'd done was go outside and sit in the car. The poor guy from Curry's PC World that you can see staring at me, I hadn't noticed him until I looked at the photos. But what I wanted to see was, as you can see, beautiful day Tuesday, far too hot for my liking, but made for a nice sky. These have not been edited at all. What I wanted to know was how good the zoom was. Don't know how much I'll use it, but that's not the point. I've always wanted a camera with a 1000mm lens, and this one's more than that. I think it's about 1060, something like that. So I took that photo and I looked at that sign where it says Team Know-How, and I thought, I wonder how close to that it could get. And the answer was pretty close. I was no nearer, I was sat in the car. And I looked at that on the 3-inch back screen and went, wow. Wow. I've never had a camera that could get that close. iPhone certainly couldn't. So I got ambitious. I took that, looking slightly more to the right, because there's a sign there, something about parking, bang in the middle, if you're following along here. That was it zoomed in. Let's look at that again. Bang in the middle. That was me zoomed in. I was impressed with that. But not satisfied, I carried on. You see that black car? I used the arrow because, I'm not even sure I could see the black car. I could read from where I was sat the red car. Not the one on the left, the one on the right. I could just about read it-ish. But no, I could not make out that black one. So I thought I'd give it a go. A little bit more noisy, and what I will say is it would benefit from a tripod, but wow. There to that. I got even more ambitious. You see that red one way over in front of Range Warehouse? Now, I could barely make out the car, never mind the number plate. I thought there's no way. One thing I did notice, and I wish I'd been able to get a video of this for you to see, was it was shaking. The more I zoomed in, the further I zoomed, it was shaking like crazy, and there was no way I could hold it still. But I thought, well, do you know what? Just take one anyway and see what we get. So that car in the distance, there's just a dot. That was its number plate. Now, you can start to see a lot of artifacts on that. But if what you wanted was to just get the number plate, that's more than readable. That car there, I zoomed the photo in and that was as close as I could get. So that's the photo. That's that photo zoomed in Keynote. That's as far as I could get. And that was the one that came out like that, which I was really impressed with. Unretouched, no tripod. I can't wait to try this with a tripod. Really cannot wait. Then I went on to the park. Again, unretouched. Nothing done with that whatsoever. But like I say, it was a nice, nice day. We don't get many nice days up here. We certainly don't get many skies like that, so I was rather pleased. Yes, that's the pitch and putt round the corner from us. Didn't manage to get any dogs in that shot, but there were dogs about, I was pleased to say. So that was what I'd bought this week. And I thought you'd like to see it. So I'll have more photos next week. I'm going to really push it through its paces and do some comparisons between the iPhone and the old G9. Is that just the optical zoom? I think at the far end, Graham, when I got onto the red one, I was into digital zoom. There is an option on all Canon cameras to disable the digital zoom. So you can take it as far as the optical will go, and then you won't get that pixelation. I tend not to do that. I tend to leave that on, just in case, like something happens and you want to take a picture of a number plate from miles and miles away. I leave it turned on. But there is on the back of the display, the zoom in is like 3 trees. And there's a marker along there's like a bar, and there's a marker that tells you when you're going off into digital zoom rather than optical. You would not need to go anything like as far as that can go, I'm telling you. In fact, it would have been worth, and I didn't think about it because I was busy dog spotting. You see the flags in the distance. There's a red flag on the right, and then there's yellow flags on the pitch and putt. It would have been a good idea if I'd have tried zooming in on one of those flags. I will attempt that this weekend, but the weather's going to be shocking apparently. It might even rain. But I will attempt that with a tripod and see how we get with it. I'll look an idiot with that on a tripod, it's so tiny. But I will do it anyway to test it. And of course, Ollie is arriving tomorrow. The other dog that we look after, little black one, it's coming tomorrow. So the camera will get lots and lots and lots of use. Awesome. It's also got on it Wi-Fi and near-field comms. So it can transfer to an app on your phone, and the app on your phone can control the camera. So literally, instead of it showing you the image on the back of the camera, it shows it you on the iPhone and you can control it from it. What I will say is with that, unless I was doing covert surveillance, I wouldn't bother. It's a little bit on the slow side. But as you've seen, all I wanted here was a inexpensive, which to me was 200 quid or less, camera that's a point and press and gives me decent zoom and a decent shot. That's all I want. And that's what I think I've got with this. I hope I have. There's nothing wrong with the G9 that I've got, apart from it shoots in RAW, which this doesn't. And that's great. That means that I've got more scope when it comes to editing. But every image needed editing. Every image I felt was very dark. So everything needed processing. And I don't know about you these days, but I could take the perfect shot with my digital SLR that weighs about 4.5 stone. If you give me an hour and a half to set it up. Or I can just whip that out and take a photo that's good enough. And that's where I'm at the moment. I just wanted this for good enough. Obviously, if you've got a beautiful day like that in front of you, good enough is good enough. What will happen when it's raining, which it does here most of the time, I don't know, but I'll let you know. It said cloudy, but it didn't say rain. But then it did say rain, which is a bit of a problem because we've got Ollie with us. And dogs aren't allowed in our hostelry unless they're guide dogs, and we're not going to get away with him as a guide dog, are we, Mike?
No.
You're all right with Ollie. He's very like Maya. He's very good at guiding you if you want to go where he wants to go. But if you don't want to go and sniff another dog's bottom in the park, no, he's not going to cut it as a guide dog. So we hope to sit outside for breakfast, but maybe that won't pan out. I'll let you know next week. Okay, so the next one is next week. On the Friday night, 31st of May, we'll be back and we'll be doing it all again, which is important because the following Monday is WWDC. Now, I had a poster for this. I think it had a monkey on it. Apple have released a new one with a unicorn. You're making big promises, Apple. Are you saying that we will be able to buy unicorn dust? Yes, doubtful. But if you remember, we were looking for bin 2.0. I'm thinking even if bin 2.0 comes out, I'd have to sell a kidney and my liver to pay for it. But you never know. It does rain in Manchester, Carl. Just slightly, every now and then. If the day's got a Y in it, it tends to rain. But I don't like it warm, so I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, if I'm walking the dog for the next week and a half, not so much. Now, I did hear rumours this week. I know we've had new kit, we've had new MacBook Pros, but I did hear a rumour about something that Jane has wanted since she lived in Australia about 7 years ago, if not more. They have said they're working on a new monitor. They've said that 2 years ago. This could be the time. This could be it. I think if they're going to announce that, announcing it with the bin would be a good idea. So there's a good chance there might be a monitor. I, of course, have just bought 3 monitors. I'm not really in the market for an Apple monitor at all. I don't trust them with monitors. They've had monitors out before that they then deprecate because they will not work with newer Macs. I like something fairly cheap and standard. Cheap and standard is good for me. That's good enough for a monitor. Obviously, I'll see them and want them, but that's not the point. I'll talk myself out of it based on the cost. So you never know. We might see that, we might not. And of course, we're going to see tvOS, iOS and macOS. I wonder what they'll call macOS this time. Mojave was bad enough. Mike was calling it Mojave for years.
Tabby Cat.
Tabby Cat. We always call it Tabby Cat until we know what the next OS is. For us, it's Tabby Cat. But as I said last time, anything but the same agony as last time. The last event was absolute torture. So we're hoping for better than that. But that's going to be on Monday the 3rd at 6 o'clock UK time. We will be going live at 5:30 and having our usual chat. Might be an idea to go live a bit early, you never know. But we go live at 5:30 and we chat away. So do join us, because if it's anything like as bad as last time, you're going to need the company to console you. And to be honest, I'd have been tempted to slip my wrist last time, but for you guys. I think actually that's the first Apple event I would have turned off. But I was glued to it with you as we were saying, this can't get any worse. Oh my God, it's just got worse. So we're hoping it can't be any worse than the last one. I think they know they got panned for the last one. So hopefully this one will be a huge improvement. So if you're on the MacBites mailing list, you'll get mails about this. If you're not, why not? We'll also mention it on Facebook, won't we, Mike? Because you'll take care of that. Facebook, interesting fact. We have 98 likes of MacBites. If you've not liked MacBites on Facebook, give us a like. You could be the 100th. And we'd love that. How long we've been on Facebook? About 10 years. We don't exactly collect likes in the thousands. So it would be really good if you're on Facebook, if you could give us a like. We'd appreciate that. Give you a name shout for that. We will, honestly. So it'll all be mentioned on there. It'll be mentioned on Twitter. But your best bet is to subscribe to the mailing list. That's your best bet. You're favourite people then, and you get first notification of everything. So who's going to join us? Who will be joining us for the WWDC coverage? Ollie will be here. So if it's that dire, we'll just put a webcam on Ollie and we'll watch him instead. He'll probably nod off to it. Bless him. That's what the iMac should look like. It should, you're quite right. Have you actually seen in the flesh, Carl, or in the silicon, as it were, a Surface Studio? Oh, it's gorgeous. It is beautiful. The tipping of it is... Do you remember Buttery Smooth? It's buttery smooth. It tilts back beautiful. It's responsive with the touch thing. The pen just worked. I actually picked up the Surface pen and didn't clock. I wonder if this will work. It did. Now, Mike's explained about the pen. You get better from the pen if you pair the thing and do magic with it. But the pen just worked. It worked on multiple devices at the same time. You did not need to repair and unpair and stand on one leg and whistle dandy. It just worked. I was so tempted. I caught myself at the, but woman, it runs Windows, leave it alone moment, thankfully. But I was impressed by the look of it, and I wish the iMac looked more like that. Instead of which, the iMac hasn't changed since I bought the one with the black back in 2009. It's not really changed to look at. I think it changed size. It went from 24 to 27. And I know they made it thinner with the rounded back. Don't know about you. Mine's against a wall. Never see it. Don't care if it's a foot thick. Never look at the side of it. That could just be me. Maybe everybody else stands and admires the back of it. I don't. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not changed in years. It would be much nicer to have a smaller bezel, like my monitors have got. Remember my monitors? Really tiny bezel. Let's see if we can see that. Let's turn that back on and move the camera. I've turned the light out, so it's pretty dark at the moment, as you can tell. But if I point that up there and we take it up and we try and get it to focus, you should be able to see how tiny that bezel is. Oh, you can't see the background, can you? Let me get a light on that. And let's see that you can see that bezel. There you go. It's tiny. If you compare that to the iMac, that's huge, isn't it? It's massive by comparison. They are beautiful, and I'd really much rather have that one in the middle. Whether they will do anything with it or not, I don't know. Rumour has it we'll be hearing a lot more about Marzipan. Who knows what Marzipan is? Marzipan is the compatibility layer between iOS and the Mac. So you can have your iOS apps running on the Mac. I think I need to warm to that slightly. At the moment, I'm lukewarm at best about it. Because I'm thinking, do you remember when Apple came out and they said about the iPad, stuff should need to be redesigned because it's a different form factor? Okay, I'll agree with you. So why are you trying to shoehorn iOS apps onto my Mac? If Timmy could answer that question, I'd be a happy bunny. Thank you, Graham. Thank you. You were probably the first. I'm suspecting you were probably the first. No, actually, I probably was the first, wasn't I? But I bet you were the first Mac biter. I really will. Oh, Carl, have you been having cake? We had a cake, last Thursday. Before we went away to Liverpool, we had a cake. It wasn't my birthday that day. It was a lady that we know, and we had flowers and we had a cake. I had a nibble of the icing. That was all I was allowed because I can't eat the cake. But we had a big cake. I believe there's a photograph of it somewhere. So when I find said photo, I'll dig that out. And just between us, don't tell anybody else. You know that group we're with? We need a cake for July. Guess who's tasked with sorting that out? That I'm not saying any more. You have not seen me in the kitchen. Nobody's ever seen me in the kitchen. Might need one of those fake ones. We'll see. We'll see what I can come up with cake-wise. And I will show you photographs of that as well. But on Monday, Carl, we're heading into Bramley Farm, which is our hostelry. But it's for breakfast, not cake. But you know what happens when you get there for breakfast? You see the cakes and you think, well, that's dinner sorted then. And you waltz off with a bag full of them. That could well happen. We've also discovered that the same chain, because Carl said there's one up in Blackpool, I think there's two actually. We went past one in Bury called the Waterfold Farm, I think. And there's a brand new one opened at the Trafford Centre, which is near the Apple Store, called Coppice Wood Farm. And I'm thinking that one needs testing. Needs testing before the Mac Bites meet up. So we'll probably head off there as well. Are you up for a cake testing, Mike?
Yeah.
He's always up for cake testing. It's food porn, what can I say? But I've got a new camera to try. So I need something to take photos of. Now, tomorrow I'm going out for breakfast, and Sunday I'm going out for breakfast. Monday, just for a change, going out for breakfast. So I'm thinking I won't be eating much later in the day, so a cake might make its way onto my digital film roll. Might do. Thinking it will. I at a minimum, even if I don't partake of said cake, I will get more pictures of the cake cupboard, because they do redecorate that like every 2 or 3 days. And it always looks amazing, and I need to try this camera. So we will have that next week. We will have food porn next week. We don't do rumours, so we won't be doing rumours next week. But if we've got anything concrete, then we'll be doing that. Other than that, we'll do more on the patterns. We'll work out the vine bit of the patterns, and I'll show you how you can use the pattern as a fill in various things as well. Marshmill Tavern in Thornton. Ooh. Might make a note of that. Marshmill Tavern. We need to get up there because we need some rock. I haven't had rock in years. Don't tell my dentist. Yeah, I wouldn't be biting it anymore. Broke a tooth as a kid on a bar of rock. Paid for it ever since.
There you go.
Oh, Mike's got it. Mike's got a picture. Oh, look at the windmill in the background. That looks like a model village. It looks so beautiful, doesn't it? It looks very similar. I'm thinking that the Mac Bites meetup's going to just turn into a pub crawl
Yeah.
for food, a pub grub crawl, not a drinks crawl. I'm loving that. I'm going to check that out, Carl. I am absolutely going to check that out. Okay, who's got any questions before we wrap up? Anything you want me to test this camera with? I'll try the GorillaPod. I'll try a tripod. I'll try the zoom on it, and I will take pictures of said cake and breakfast. I'll do some photos that are similar, although the people will probably be different. Mind you, having said that, maybe not. To compare with the ones from the G9 and the iPhone. And if I get a chance, if people will stand there long enough, I'll take some on the day with both as well. I did have one with me on from last time, but I couldn't use that one because it was blurry. And the lady that took it, it wasn't keyed up right and it was a bit blurry. So, but there again, I won't blame her because the camera was as old as the hills. It was steam powered. But it took a good shot if you know what you're doing with it. So I'm looking forward to trying this one. What cameras has everybody else got? We know what Graham's got. I think I remember Graham getting the G16 because I remember thinking, wow, that must be 7 years younger than the one I got, which was the G9. They seem to have restarted the numbering. It looks like the G7X is the latest. But that was 560 quid. And I thought, no, not doing it. I'm glad that I didn't because I think for £200, even though this one's a couple of years old, I'd be prepared for £200 to use it for 2 or 3 years and then just buy a new one. Because although this one doesn't do RAW, the other stuff that's on it, like the Wi-Fi, the near-field comms, the iPhone app, the Zoom on it, all of those get updated, in a 2-3 year cycle. Whereas if I spend £560, I'm going to hang on to it for 10 years like I did the last one. And the last one had no GPS, it had no Wi-Fi, no near-field, no nothing. It only used small cards. The only saving grace it had, my G9, was it used the same batteries as a Canon camcorder that we had. So I only needed one set of batteries for both. But other than that, I think I'm going to stick to cheap and cheerful for sort of a pocket camera. I'm not going to spend a fortune on that. I might buy a decent one, like a mirrorless or whatever. But as I said, you've got to think about how you use cameras these days, and people expect to just point and press. And if you're stood there saying, just a minute while I change the ISO, you've lost the moment. So that's why I've gone for this, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm quite happy with the zoom on it, that's for sure. I'm hoping to be able to get photos, when you go places and there's flowers or things in the distance that you can never quite get close enough to. Like the ducks at Dunham, Mike. We can never get that close to the ducks because Ollie barks at them and that's the end of that. It would be nice to see what it can get with that. So that's what I'll try doing with it. Yeah, I've got a Canon DSLR, but again, it's quite old. I bought that in 2006 as well. Spent a fortune in 2006. In 2006, I bought 3 Macs. I bought my first one, 20-inch iMac. I bought a 24-inch iMac and gave Mike the 20. I bought a 17-inch, remember those, 17-inch MacBook Pro and a new digital camera. It was an expensive year. The next year didn't get any cheaper, to be honest. I think I bought another Mac. Mike bought a Mac laptop, and we bought half of the studio equipment for Mac Bytes. We started Mac Bytes in 2007. So that was an expensive year as well. Do you remember when we bought the iMacs we've got now, Mike? And why we bought them when we bought them? It was election night.
Yeah, because Theresa May got elected.
Theresa May got elected, but only just, skin of teeth. Didn't have a majority. And it was like, oh my God, the price will go up. So we ordered them that night. Well, obviously she's gone today. And I did think, should I buy anything? Like, maybe not to celebrate, but the woman's gone. Hang on a minute. Who's going to come in? What's going to happen? Might need to buy something. I haven't bought anything yet to celebrate or otherwise. I don't see me actually buying another DSLR. Certainly not yet. No way. It would be fine if I was maybe selling images as stock. But for average use, I just want a photo now and I want it fast. I want a fairly decent photo fast. So I'll go for sort of 80% quality for 100% speed. That's where I'm at the moment. But we'll see how I go with that camera. They've still got them at Curry's PC World if you want that one, which is a lot cheaper than Amazon, and you get that travel kit with it. It's still available, but you have to be careful whether it's actually in stock at your store. But they do deliver. They deliver free. I wasn't trusting them. I had it check the stock, and then I ordered it, and then I checked with them, and then I headed off to pick it up. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I checked when I did. Otherwise, I might have been tempted to talk myself into the cheaper one. And the zoom on this one is 40% more than the other one. So, but not 40% of the price. It ended up only £20 more. So for £20, I went for the right one. Do you know, I noticed that, the lottery picture with the fingers. If it's not that, what is it? I mean, fingers crossed it'll be better than last time. That's what I took it to mean. There's the metal logo. There's the kiddie programming thing, which I think is that rocket. That diamond down in the bottom left looks a little bit like the Sketch logo. Or Ruby. So I'm not sure with that one. What else did I spot on there? There was one that looked like a ball and chain underneath the Apple logo. But I'm thinking that's to do with location. There's also another one on the right-hand side where the bird is. To the left of the bird. It's like an oblong with a circle cut out of it at the top. I wondered if that was a selfie clicker. There's also a spider on there. I'm confused. I made out the donkey. Sorry, unicorn. It looks like a donkey with a horn on it. It actually does look like a donkey with an ice cream cone on its head. So we'll find out. Who knows? Maybe what it means, everybody, is you'll need to buy a lottery ticket or sell a kidney. So fingers crossed you win the lottery. That's what I'm taking it to mean. I could be being cynical. Me? Surely not. But I'm still mentally scarred from the last Apple event, so who knows? Right, well, it's getting on, and we've got to head out to have fun tomorrow, and then
get something to eat.
And get something to eat right now, because I want my fruit. I'm demanding my fruit. I'll bet Graham's had something far sexier than fruit. Graham will have had something like an apple pie, or an Eccles cake, or something nice, but it'll be something nicer than I've had. I know it will. So tell us what you've had, Graham, and then we can go and have our fruit. I think I might have some nuts as well. At the moment, I'm on my favourites, which is cashew nuts and dry roasted peanuts. I did go out and somebody had some peanuts, and I nibbled these peanuts, nearly blew my head off with the salt. So I won't be doing that again. Yes, I'm thinking the event could be a donkey. The last one was. A donkey with an ice cream cone on its head. Yes. Well, that does look like a donkey, doesn't it, Mike? It's not particularly a unicorn, and you and I know unicorns.
We do.
We've got a friend whose daughter is obsessed with unicorns, and that looks like a donkey. We'll find out. Cherry Bakewell. I should have known, Graham. Fruit salad, fairly healthy. Cherry Bakewell. Indulgent. Liking it. Absolutely liking it. But for tonight, that's it from us, because we need to go and have something to eat. So it's good night from me.
It's good night from me.
And we will both see you next time, which is 31st at 9 o'clock. See you next week. Bye.